Hello Curious and welcome back. As the eyes of the world are turned towards Ukraine and the horrifying images and footage that has emerged from the Eastern European country, many have also turned to Ukrainian stars, especially those in Hollywood, who have been using their platform to raise awareness as to what is going on in their homeland, such as Mila Kunis and her husband Ashton Kutcher. Others who are already in the country had been updating fans as to what is going on and even fighting to keep their country safe. And some had even flown back to Europe to help out their compatriots in any way that they can. But who are those stars that you might be used to seeing on your TV screens that are now calling for the end of the war in their home country? How have they reacted and what actions did they take? Have they always been vocal about their heritage? Stay with us until the very end to find out more about these celebrities, but before we continue, don't forget to turn on the notifications and subscribe to our channel so that you're always up to date with the hottest entertainment news. Of course, one of the most talked about stars in recent weeks with regards to their Ukrainian heritage has been Mila Kunis. That 70s show star was born Milena Markovna Kunis into a Ukrainian Jewish family in Chmerkovskiy, and while it is now a Ukrainian city, at the time it was part of the Soviet Union. This was also why, when Mila was 7 years old, her parents and her brother had moved to Los Angeles as they could see no future for their children in the Eastern European country. In the past interviews over the years, she had talked about where her family was from, as well as talking about her childhood in Ukraine, revealing that she was lucky as her parents had good jobs and so they weren't poor, while many people were not that fortunate. Kunis is married to fellow That 70s Show castmate Ashton Kutcher, and the two have 2 children. And the pair have been raising funds to help the refugees who are fleeing their country and leaving their entire lives behind. The day after Putin's forces invaded the country on February 24th, Kutcher took to his Twitter to post a message of support, but for a while, Mila was silent. Then on March 4th, the two posted a video of Ashton's Instagram account where they announced they themselves will be donating $3 million to help refugee relief groups, helping those fleeing to Ukraine's neighboring countries, as well as sharing the links and the names of organizations that are involved in the aid. In the video, the pair had added, "The events that have unfolded in Ukraine are devastating. There is no place in this world for this kind of unjust attack on humanity. And while we witness the bravery of the people of the country that she was born in, we are also witness to the needs of those who have chosen safety." Recently, the pair took to their Instagram once again to reveal that since they appealed for donations via the link in their bio, they had managed to reach their goal of $30 million. As of the making of this video, there had been over 70,000 donations on their GoFundMe to a sum of over $34 million. Their efforts did not go unnoticed by Ukrainian President Zelensky, who shared on his social media an image of his video call with the couple and thanked them for their support, adding that they were among the first to respond to the country's grief. Speaking of the president, if you want to know more about Volodymyr Zelensky and his road to becoming the country's leader, then be sure to check out our previous video by clicking on the link above. Though for now, stay with us to find out what Ukrainian star had decided to head back to aid their compatriots. One of the known Ukrainian stars, especially in the world of sports, are the Klitschko brothers. Vladimir is a former heavyweight champion and one of the most famous boxers in the world, and he has been seen as one of the most vocal about what is going on in Ukraine. He had enlisted in the Ukraine Army Reserves in February to help defend his country alongside his brother Vitaly Klitschko, who is also a former boxer and current mayor of Kiev. At the start of the invasion, the two brothers had released a statement in which they had called on all international partners to observe the tragedy that is happening nowadays in Ukraine and the senseless war that is not going to have any winners but losers. The brothers have been vocal about troubles in their country in interviews in the past, especially in 2014 when protests broke out in the capital following the former president Viktor Yanukovych's failure to reach a political and economic treaty with the European Union, seeming instead to favour closer economic ties with Russia. During those protests, Vitaly had emerged as the natural leader of the street manifestations and along with his brother often talked about the situation in their homeland in interviews for Western media. Eyes have been turned to Vladimir as the athlete shares 7-year-old daughter Kaya with ex-fiancé Hayden Panettiere, and of whom she has custody of and for whom fans were worried. When the Nashville star had voiced her message of support to the people of Ukraine following the invasion, one fan had asked, "Please tell me that your daughter is currently stateside and not with her dad during this." To this, the actress replied that she is safe and not in Ukraine, but did not offer any other response with regards to her daughter's whereabouts. If you want to know more about Panettiere, you can check out our previous video by clicking on the link displayed above. But for now, stay with us until the very end. In the early days of the invasion, one of the most talked about Ukrainian stars was Dancing with the Stars ally Maxim Chmerkovskiy. The professional dancer made headlines at the end of February as he had posted on social media revealing that he was stuck in Kiev, though later managed to return to US to reunite with his wife, Petra Murgatroyd. Though their reunion did not last long. In an interview, upon his return, the man had said that he was feeling survivor's remorse. And now, on March 20th, Max took to his social media to reveal that he was no longer in LA, but instead in Poland, where over 2 million refugees have fled to, and where he has been helping with their relief efforts. In the video, he had urged his followers to help in any sort of the way they can, adding that it did not end or slow down. It got worse in Ukraine, and I want everyone to understand what that means, because everything that happened fast, and it was traumatic, and it was worldwide and everything. Max's brother Val, who is also a dancer, had turned their Dance With Me Regionals event on March 3rd into a fundraiser, noting that while it was supposed to be a fun event, they can't ignore the challenging times that are happening on the other side of the world that are affecting not only his family but many of his peers. The proceeds of the event, including those of his performances, would go towards helping the refugees. Prior to Max returning to USA, the dancer took to his social media to write, "My parents fled this country for this exact reason, not because it wasn't good for them, but because their kids would see war eventually. It's a cruel irony that 28 years later, my brother is in a bomb shelter in Kiev." Since then, he has also prompted his family's humanitarian aid organization, Baranova 27, which is working towards getting aid to his home country by sending necessary supplies overseas. Resident Evil star Mila Jovovich could not sit back and watch what was happening without letting her feelings be known. The star, who was born in Kiev and spent her early life in Russia, took to social media on the second day of the invasion to share a message. "My blood and my roots come from both Russia and Ukraine. I am torn in two as I watch the horror unfolding, the country being destroyed, families being displaced, the whole life lying in charred fragments around them." The actress also added a link to her profile, which lists official organizations and charities to which people can donate money in order to help in any way they can. Though this is not the first time that Jovovich had spoken about a crisis in her country. Just like the Klitschko brothers, she had spoken out in the past about the 2014 riots that swept the capital, helping raise funds for the victims of the violence already back then. Another Ukrainian native that spoke out in the early days of their war was Bond actress Olga Korelienko, who first had called for the war to be stopped, and since then had teamed up with the charity Hope and Homes for Children, which aims to help children that are living in orphanages across the country by providing them with food, drinks and medicine on the ground in Ukraine, as well as seeking to get them out safely to neighbouring countries. While the Ukrainian stars of Hollywood are speaking up, helping their country in any way they can, be it by supporting charities, fighting on the front lines or giving hands-on aid to the refugees, they are also calling for their followers and industry colleagues to help out as well. In the days since, many of Tinseltown's elite, who previously were photographed with the leader of the Russian Federation, had condemned his actions and even apologized for those meetings and photos. But what about Hollywood stars of Russian origin? Have they spoken out, and has this affected their work? One of the most famous stars hailing from the country is model Irina Shike. While she did not speak out too much on the issue, she shared a photo of a peace sign on her Instagram with the caption "No War" and announced that she will be donating to UNICEF and Red Cross Ukraine. Some fans had also turned to the Vampire Diaries actress Olga Korelienko, more commonly known as Olga Fonda, who on the show played the role of Nadia Petrova. However, taking a look at her social media, the star has not commented on what is going on, and her last post dates to February 21st. While the war, and mainly the sanctions, are most certainly affecting celebrities that are in Russia and operate on the entertainment market there, with many big companies pulling out and halting productions such as Netflix, right now it is hard to tell whether the war has affected the workload of any Russian stars in Hollywood, as there had not been any reports with regards to that. Though it has for sure affected those in the sports industry, as the country has been banned from many international sporting events, which include soccer, and the country being banned from the World Cup. Other sports include ice hockey, ice skating, tennis and basketball, to name a few. The same fate had befallen the Belarusian athletes after their leader Lukashenko has been aiding Putin during the invasion. So curious, did you know that the stars that were mentioned of this video are of Ukrainian origin? Do you think some could do more? Were you aware that the Klitschko brothers are on the front lines? And do you think the war will affect Russian stars more in the future? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and as always, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel. Until next time.